All right, now we're going to do the sewing part. This is what the finished product looks like. And just to reiterate, wash your hands before you make anything. These are not medical grade masks. You could try to put a filter in it, but it's not going to be perfect. Don't make it if you're sick. Don't try it on if you're giving it to someone else, and wash it in hot water if you are giving it to someone else. Anyway, so this is my mask that I made a week ago. And what's nice about this one is that it's pleated, so I can actually spread it over my nose and it kind of fits really well. And also I really like this long tie thing because then I can just pop one over my head and then tie it back. So this is what the finished mask look like. There's a nice little filter hole here, and I like to use the filter hole as a reference, so I will be referring to that again and again. Yes. So making a sewing mask, I'm using hand sanitizer just to be safe. I had this nice piece of green fabric for the Stanford tree, so go Stanford, go trees. Yes. Oh, and I completely forgot. Let me share with you the supply list. Share. And this is like all the materials you need for the sewing supplies. I've noted that you have this 7 by 19-inch cotton fabric, and it's again same note as I made for the non-sewing part. You want to make sure that it's closely woven, 100%, and that if you hold it up to the light, you shouldn't see a lot of light coming through. I mean, the less light you see through, the better. Also, I don't have any filter materials here because what we're going to do is we're going to take this cotton fabric and we're just going to make a cylinder out of it, so it's double layered, and that should work pretty well as just like a basic filter, but I will include a filter hole in case you want to add something else in the middle, and that'll make it even better. There's scissors, of course, something to sew with, that would be needles, and I have a sewing machine behind me, so I'm going to be using that. Something to pin things in place. So you can use tape. I have some pins here. So this is just in case in those in between steps you might want to hold things in place. Over here we got the elastic and shoelaces. There's many ways you can make the ties behind your head, and the length, if you're doing it like elastic and you just want like one here, one on one ear, one on the other, you want them to be about 10 inches long. If you're doing it like with the mask I showed you, where it's just like one long stretch, you want it to be about 48 inches long. Over here we have pencils. That would be very useful to marking the fabric. You also might need a crochet hook or a needle. That you can use a pencil, but those will be helpful for like turning things inside out and pulling the thread through the mask. Did I forget? Oh, ruler, of course. And over here, I'm using an ironing board right now, but if you don't have an ironing board, you can use a really heavy textbook. Yeah. All right. So, moving on. That's the supplies that you need to have. Here's the fabric already, and it's helpful to iron it flat first. Which this is mostly is. I'll just do like a touch up. But what we want to do is we want to pre-fold the pleats that we're going to use. So flip this over to the wrong side. That's the side that does not have the pattern on it. And we're going to take that ruler and a pencil to make the mark on where we want the piece to go. So we're going to look at the short end, and we're going to measure like 2 inches from the top and 2 inches from the bottom. Just make a mark there, 2 inches from the bottom, and finally we want to mark the center, so that's 3.5 inches. 3.5 inches there. Now you do it on the other side. All right, so you have it all marked. You could draw a line from one end to the other, but you don't need to have it like exact, and you can also kind of eyeball it. So that's what I'm going to do is you're going to go back to the right side, and then you're going to fold the first bit up to the 2-inch mark. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. the pencils are a little harder to see on dark fabric. All right, so once you have that going, you iron it. And now if you don't have an iron and you're using a textbook, you can just go ahead and make all the folds for a pleat and then put the textbooks on top, and that saves you a little bit of time, I think. I am just going to iron everything up one at a time just to make sure they're really flat. All right. And then now you do the same for the top. You fold down 2 inches. Lost the pencil mark. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Yeah, I chose a dark fabric, which pencil hard to see, but it still works. All right. So you iron that. That's like the first set of folds, but we're going to unfold that and go back to the right side. Go back to the wrong side again. I'm getting backwards. And what you want to do is you want to take the fold that you already made and fold them into the center mark, that 3.5 inch mark. So here's one. And I'm just going to go ahead and do this by itself. You could do it both at the same time. It doesn't really matter. Right, I'm keeping that down and bring the other one up. Come on. There we go. Yeah. So they should be pretty close together, like coming together in the middle. And iron. I'm really going to focus on the edge because those are the tricky parts later on. Like coming over on the other side. Focusing on the edge. And that's, once you finish the iron part, you finish pre-folding the pleats. I'll show you what it looks like. Here you go. So look at those pleats. It's pretty nice. We are going to unfold all of this because we're basically going to have a cylinder, and it's easier to show it when you have it flat. But now that you have the pleats pre-ironed, then you know where to fold it in the future. All right, so you got the pleats, you got it flat. What we're going to do is we're going to make a double layer and we're going to make a cylinder. So you're going to fold this in half with the wrong side out, pattern side in. Right? And this is where the filter is going to be. Now, it is your choice on whether to include a filter hole. Like, I like to have it there just in case. And this seam right here, this open part, that's where you're going to put the filter hole. If you choose not to worry about a filter hole and sew straight, that's absolutely fine. What you do need to do though is that when you make the hole for the elastic, you need to make one of them at least a little bit bigger, so that way you can pull the thing inside out again. So, so I'm also going to get out my pens and mark things. Got shape work, just so you know. And I want to mark where my filter hole is going to be. And what I do, and again, it's just up to you, but what I do is this center pleat right here, that's where I like to make my filter hole. So I'm just going to put a pin on both sides. That has the double effect of keeping things together and also telling me where to stop sewing. Yeah. Come on. And okay. So I got 2 pins that will mark where my filter holes are going to go, and now I'm ready to sew. So just so you know ahead of time, I think I'll move this down here since you'll get a better view of the sewing machine. So you know ahead of time, I am going to sew from here, and then I'm going to do something called a stage stitch when I get to the hole. And the stage stitch is pretty important because then it will keep things in place. And since I have the hole there, I'm probably going to put things in and out, and the stage stitch will make sure that I don't rip out the stitches that I've already sewn. I don't need to do a stage stitch up here because what we're going to do is we're going to sew along the top anyways, and that'll hold that part in place. But you also hear me again refer to stage stitching as we get further along. All right, so let's do this. All right. So again, hand stitching is fine if that's what you got. I don't think this is 100% flat. No, it's not. Yeah, and you don't have to be a perfectionist like I am. I'm just making sure this is lined up the way I want it to. You have to be careful because the police might mess you up a little bit. All right. And so now I'm going to start sewing along down here, and I want to sew it like half an inch from the edge. So somewhere like almost a thumb width apart. All right, let's get going. All right, I'm at the point where I want my filter hole to be. And now I'm going to make the stage stitch. And to make the stage stitch, I reverse it back a little bit. And I only want to do this like 3 or 4 times. All right, there we go. That's one side finished. So I'm just going to jump over to the next. And since I really want to keep my stage, since I want to do a stage stitch on this one, I'm going to reverse again 3 or 4 stitches and then come back forward. All right. Just making sure this lines up. Right. So there we go. We got this all sewn, and this part is where the hole's going to be. All right. So what we want to do next is we want to sew the top and the bottom. We also want to keep the holes, some holes open for the ties to go through. So the way I do this is I like to have the filter part in the middle where the mouth and nose is going to be. It's your choice if you actually want this on the side, that could work, or if you want it somewhere not in the middle, that's totally fine. Yeah, so I'm just going to fold it so that this center seam is in the middle. I don't need, you can pin it, you can also iron it to make it stay flat, but as long as you remember that hole on both sides, it will work. The hole is the important part. Okay, so that hole for the elastic, you should mark where you want to put it, and you want it to be about a thumb width apart, which is about 3/4 of an inch. Yeah. And you kind of want to be generous here, but you will sew the sides again just to make sure it stays flat. And marking this side. So I'm going to start at the hole. And because this is a place where the tie is coming in, I want the same thing for the filter. I want to have a stage stitch on one end and a stage stitch on the other, and I'm going to do that on both sides. So that means I'm going to start here, and I'm going to reverse a couple 3 or 4 stitches that way. So and also just as a reminder, you want to show it about like 1/2 inch finishing from the edge. Alright, and coming up to the other end, I want to reverse the stitch again at this end. Alright, and that's one end done. Now we go on to the other end. Again, we want to reverse, make it reverse a little bit and then come back forward. So make some in the right place. There we go. Reverse. Yeah. And we want to make sure this is flat. I think there might be a bit of a bubble, but that's fine. And final stay stitch. Oh shoot, that was none of this. There we go. That hole's going to be a little bit smaller than the rest, but we'll make do with it. There's still a hole there, that's the important part. All right, so now we have the top part and the bottom part sewn, and we have 4 holes. So do make sure you do have a hole because it will make your life very difficult if you don't remember it. All right, so what you want to do is you want to turn this inside out now, and I'm using the filter hole to do that. This is like the 3rd hardest part of making a mask. We didn't pass any of the hard parts yet. We got that to look forward to. Yeah, and the bigger the filter hole, the easier it is to put the mask through, but if you make the filter hole too big, it's not as effective. All right, here we go. You can also use a pencil to push out the corners and push this in. All right, now it looks like a little bean bag. It's missing the beans. And you may have noticed that we push in the loose threads as well. That's fine because you don't get to see those threads. We will cut off the loose threads when it comes to the finish though. All right, I'm gonna use a pencil to push out this last corner. Corner. Oh, you know what this also reminds me of? A sopapilla. That's like a dessert treat from Mexico, and just looking at this makes me hungry because it looks so much like a sopapilla. All right, so here we go. Got it turned inside out. Here's the front. Doesn't have a hole in it. Here's the back. Got the filter hole in the middle. And what we want to do is we're going to make the pleats again. But before we do that, if you look, you can see that these seams are kind of bulging out because we just turned them inside out. You want to press them flat to make it easier for yourself. And do that on both sides. This makes it easier to sew it and also press the pleats flat. Here we go. All right, so here's the flattened mask. Now we're going to make the pleats, and this is the second hardest part of making a mask. There are many ways to make the pleats, and I think there might be easier ways, but the way I do it is I am pushing this in. So if you look at my finished mask, you kind of see that these outer pleats are kind of tucked into the middle one. So that's called a mountain fold in origami, I think, and it's like the hardest fold there is. So what you want to do is you just want to pull this out, push the outside pleat into the middle pleat. I'm saying pleat. I don't know why I'm doing that. Maybe Fleet Street? Maybe. Shout out to them. Okay. So here's one end. And just so I don't lose my place, I'm going to pin this. Yeah. So pin. I'm going to go to the other side. And now I got it going across. Press it flat. I'm also going to pin the other side because it's very easy to lose your place. Okay, so that's one side. This could be the top or the bottom. It doesn't really matter with this piece of fabric. And now you do it the same on the bottom. So I'll bring this closer to the camera so you can see, but I am pulling this out. I'm pressing this outer part in. And I'm trying to find, align it to where the iron pleats are. So like that, you can see there's a line here. It's hard to see on this fabric, but that line is what I'm trying to get to. I lost my place. Oh, that's what yeah, so here we go. So this is like the second hardest part. And I'm sorry, but the hardest part has not come to pass yet. All right, once you got that, pin it so you don't lose your place. And do it on the other side. And I mentioned that before, but I'll mention it again. These pleats are very useful to pull it up over your nose. All right, almost got it. Oh, this one's not making it easy for me. There we go. All right, now I'm just gonna bring that refold the pleat across the entire thing. One more pin. All right. And just about got it. I'm just making sure the filter holes here are giving me some trouble because that's where extra fabric are kind of bunched up and thrown off the pleats. But it's flattened, it's working. There you go. There you go. Got the pleats. And now what we're going to do, and this is the last sewing step, is we're going to sew along the edge here. We want to sew it enough that we can stick a pencil in this hole. So that's like, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch again. Not quite a thumb, but a little smaller. But you want to have that space in order for the tie to go through. And yeah, so let's start on, how about this side? This side seems nice. And you also want to be very careful here. You don't want to accidentally sew the hole closed. And that's possible if you don't check like the corner fabric to make sure none of the extra fabric is accidentally getting sewn. If it happens, then it happens, you just have to take a scissors and really rip a hole, but you don't really want to do that. It's just trickier. All right, so I'm going to do, since this is on the outside, I'm going to do a stage stitch and then normal stitching. So reverse and go forward. All right. Making sure the pleats are in place. Oh shoot. And I warned you about this, but you also want to, what I didn't do here was I didn't make sure I have enough space. So you really do want to have enough space for something to go through. It could work, but I think I'm just going to do the other side and show you how to thread that side instead of this one. All right. So this time I'm going to make sure there's enough space. All right, there we go. Enough space, perfect. I'm going to do a stage stitch and normal stitching. I'm going to make sure the pleats are in place. And doing a reverse stitch. Right. So that's one side complete. Could go back and try to rip out these stitches, but just for this recording, I'm just going to show you how to thread this side, and then you can assume I've done the other side. All right. So that's all the sewing part that you need. So once you've sewn both sides, you can turn off sewing and get the tie that you need for putting this threading this through. And on the tie front, you could use elastic. You want something that's not bendy, and you want something that you can wash in hot water. So like one of my old ties was like cotton, but it wasn't sewn shut, so that means it can fray. And so far I've only gone through like one wash, but eventually I will need to replace that with something stronger like a shoelace. You could do elastic, and if you do elastic, you probably wanted to do something like one round here and one round on the other. For that, you want the elastic to be about 10 inches, and you would tie it, pull it so that way the knot comes to here and comfortable. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have like a long 48-inch string, and this way it's like my mask, you can just tie it around your back, tie it around the back of your neck. So with shoelace, you could probably just thread it through, but more likely you might want to use a hook to get through, or in this case, I'm going to use a pencil, and I'm going to tape the pencil. So I'm going to tape the pencil. I also want a second pencil because the way that we made these pleats is it would get through one end, but it'll get stuck on the other. So I'm going to have a pencil to meet it in the middle. All right. Tape. And sticking this through one end. And now I'm going to take the pencil to meet it out in the other. And just pull it through without letting it get caught on any of the pleats. And this, by the way, this is the hardest part because it actually works on the first time this time, but I have done it a couple of times where it took me like 20 minutes just to get one side in. That was like when I was first doing it, but yeah, if you're still struggling with that, yeah, I get that. It's not easy. So, I'm going to take on because I want to do the other side. But once you're done, you can just cut off any loose threads and give it to someone after you wash it first. And yeah, so that's what a mask is. You can, again, this hole will be the filter. You can pull it over your nose. One last note that I want to make, and that is, if you're making a lot of masks for your friends or essential workers who don't have a Mac yet, what you want to do, what I find is easiest, is that if you're making multiple masks, you can try to set it up as an assembly line. So I would suggest going through this once, just make sure you know all the processes, but then doing all the ironing at once, doing all the sewing at once, and then doing all the turning inside out and threading at once. So that's how you make a face mask.